Two Canadians bump into each other on the street. Both of them immediately say sorry, not one of them. Both of them, including the person who did absolutely nothing wrong. If you have spent any time in Canada, you know this is not an exaggeration. Canadians apologize for bumping into furniture. They apologize when you step on their foot. Some of them apologize to the printer. So why? Why do Canadians say sorry so much? Let's get into it. Here's the first thing to understand. In Canada, the word sorry is doing two completely different jobs. The first is the real apology, the one you say when you actually did something wrong. That one exists everywhere. But the second kind is the one that confuses newcomers. This sorry is not really an apology at all. It's more like social punctuation. It means excuse me. It means pardon. It means I would like to get past you. It means I acknowledge that we are two humans sharing a small space, and I come in peace. Canadians are not apologizing for their existence. They're using sorry as a tiny social handshake. Once you hear it that way, the whole country makes a lot more sense. And once you start listening for it, you'll hear this second kind of sorry everywhere. Someone says sorry when they ask you to repeat yourself. Someone says sorry when they arrive exactly on time and you happen to still be finishing something. Someone says sorry when the weather is bad, as if the rain were somehow their fault. It becomes less a statement of guilt and more a way of keeping the peace, a small verbal nod that says, "We're good, no hard feelings, carry on." So where did this come from? A big part of the answer is history. Canada inherited a lot of its manners from British culture, where understatement and politeness are practically a national sport. Saying sorry rather than pointing out someone else's mistake, minimizing conflict rather than escalating it, that thread runs straight through British social custom and made its way across the Atlantic along with everything else. Then layer on a country built from wave after wave of immigration, where being gracious and non-confrontational became a kind of social glue that helped very different people share space peacefully. When you're building a society out of people from dozens of different backgrounds, a shared habit of gentle politeness does a lot of quiet work. It smooths over the friction that comes from not always sharing the same customs, the same first language, or the same unspoken rules. Add some very long, very cold winters where cooperation genuinely matters, and you get a culture where a soft, quick sorry became the default setting. When you're relying on your neighbors to help dig out your car or share a ride when the roads are bad, keeping things friendly is not just nice, it's practical. But here is where it gets genuinely strange, and this is the part almost nobody believes at first.
Canadians say sorry so much that parts of the country had to pass a law about it.
In Ontario, there's something called the Apology Act. It was passed to make one thing clear. If a Canadian says sorry after, say, a car accident, that apology cannot automatically be used against them in court as an admission of guilt. Why would a law like that exist? Because Canadians apologize so reflexively that they'll say sorry even when something genuinely was not their fault. The law essentially protects people from their own politeness. Let that sink in. The reflex is so strong that the legal system had to account for it. And Ontario is not alone. Several other provinces have passed similar apology legislation over the years, each one solving the exact same problem. Insurance companies and lawyers noticed that Canadians kept apologizing at accident scenes out of pure habit, and that those innocent apologies were being twisted into evidence of fault. So province after province quietly rewrote the rules to catch up with how their own citizens actually talk. It's a strange kind of national portrait, isn't it? A country so committed to politeness that its own legal system had to build in a workaround for it. Now, it's worth saying, this reflex is not the same as being a pushover. A Canadian saying sorry after you bump into them is not backing down or admitting weakness. It's closer to a shared social contract, an agreement that small frictions get smoothed over quickly so everyone can get on with their day. Visitors sometimes mistake it for insincerity, as if a sorry that isn't really about fault must not mean anything. But ask most Canadians, and they'll tell you the opposite. It's not empty politeness. It's a genuine, if slightly automatic, expression of goodwill. Linguists actually have a name for this, They call it a discourse marker, a small word that doesn't carry its literal meaning anymore, but instead manages the flow of a conversation. Think of how people use words like well, or actually, to soften a sentence or signal a shift in tone. Sorry has quietly joined that club in Canadian English. It stopped being purely about fault and started being about rhythm, about keeping a conversation moving smoothly without friction. You can hear it in all kinds of everyday moments once you know what to listen for. Someone asks a stranger for directions, and the stranger says, "Sorry, I don't know," as if not knowing were somehow a personal failing. A cashier says sorry for the wait, even when the wait was 30 seconds, and entirely reasonable. A driver waves another car through an intersection and mouths sorry through the windshield, though nothing went wrong at all. None of these people did anything that needs forgiving. They're just keeping the social gears turning smoothly. For newcomers, this can take some getting used to. In some cultures, apologizing is reserved for real mistakes, and saying sorry too often can come across as strange, or even as an admission that something is actually wrong. So it's a fair question to ask when you first arrive whether all this sorry saying means people are constantly at fault. They're not. Once you realize it's closer to a verbal handshake than an admission of guilt, the constant apologizing stops being confusing and starts feeling, honestly, kind of endearing. The reputation has spread well beyond Canada's own borders, too. Comedians built entire routines around it. Tourism campaigns have leaned into it as a point of national charm. International visitors often say it's one of the first things they notice, right alongside the friendliness in the cold winters. At some point, the habit stopped being just a quirk and became part of how the rest of the world pictures Canadians altogether, gentle, easygoing, and endlessly, almost comically, Researchers have taken a genuine interest in this too. Psychologists who study politeness across cultures point to Canada as one of the clearest examples of what they call a face-saving culture, where conversation is shaped around protecting everyone's comfort and avoiding embarrassment, rather than being blunt or direct. In studies comparing how different English-speaking countries use the word sorry, Canadian speakers consistently come out using it more often and in a wider range of situations than almost anywhere else. It's not just a stereotype. It shows up in the data. It even shapes how workplaces function. Managers giving feedback often soften it with a sorry, even when there's nothing to apologize for, simply because it takes the edge off a correction. Colleagues say sorry before disagreeing with an idea in a meeting, not because they feel guilty, but because it signals the disagreement is friendly, not personal. Newcomers navigating a Canadian workplace for the first time sometimes misread this as a lack of confidence. It isn't. It's the same social smoothing at work, just wearing a suit. So the next time you're in Canada and someone apologizes to you for something you did, don't be confused. They're not being sarcastic, they're not weak, they're speaking a quiet local language of politeness where sorry is less about guilt and more about grace. And honestly, in a world that can feel pretty sharp-edged, there's something kind of lovely about a place where the default reflex is to smooth things over rather than square up. If you enjoyed this, subscribe. We've got a whole country of quirks to explain, and we promise we're only a little bit sorry about it. See you next time. So why Canada?